My boss called me unstable because of bipolar today, she reports to me. I never imagined that the same condition my former boss used to humiliate me would become the key to my greatest professional success. My name is Sarah, I'm 28 years old, and I live with bipolar disorder. For years, I believed that my diagnosis was a professional death sentence, a shameful secret that I had to hide at all costs. But today, as I sit in my corner office overlooking the city, I realize how wrong I was. Before I tell you how I went from being fired for being unstable to becoming the youngest regional director in my company's history, if you believe that our differences can be our greatest strengths, please like this video and subscribe to the channel for more inspiring stories. It was a rainy Tuesday morning in March when my world seemed to collapse. I had been working at Morrison & Associates, a prestigious marketing firm, for 2 years. I thought I was doing well, my campaigns were creative, my clients were satisfied, and I genuinely loved what I did. But my boss, Linda Morrison, had been watching me with increasingly suspicious eyes. The problem started during one of my hypomanic episodes. For those who don't know, bipolar disorder involves mood swings between depression and mania or hypomania. During hypomanic episodes, I felt incredibly creative, energetic, and productive. I could work for hours without feeling tired, my ideas flowed like water, and I seemed to have unlimited energy. But to someone who didn't understand the condition, this might seem abnormal or unstable. That Tuesday, Linda called me into her office with a stern expression. "Sarah, I need to talk to you about your recent behavior," she said, not even inviting me to sit down. "I've been observing you, and frankly, I'm concerned about your stability." My heart began to race. I had been so careful to hide my condition, taking my medication religiously and attending therapy sessions during lunch breaks. "I'm not sure I understand what you mean, Linda," I replied, trying to keep my voice steady. "Don't play dumb with me," she continued, her voice cold and professional. "Last week you were so energetic and talkative that you made our clients uncomfortable. You interrupted meetings, spoke too fast, and seemed almost manic. Then this week, you've been quiet, slower, as if you're a completely different person. This inconsistency is affecting our team's productivity." I felt the floor disappear beneath my feet. She was describing my natural mood cycles, the alternation between hypomanic episodes and periods of relative stability that characterize bipolar disorder. But I couldn't explain this to her without revealing my diagnosis. "I've just been enthusiastic about the projects," I tried to explain. "Sometimes I'm more energetic, sometimes I'm more focused and quiet. I don't think this has affected my work quality." Linda laughed sarcastically. "Work quality? Sarah, your inconsistency is creating chaos in our department. One day you're full of grandiose ideas, the next you can barely contribute to meetings. This is not what we expect from our employees." The word grandiose hit me like a punch to the stomach. It was a technical term often used to describe symptoms of mania, and hearing it from my boss made me wonder if she somehow knew about my condition. The paranoia that sometimes accompanied my episodes began to set in. "I want to be clear," Linda continued, "I'm not running a charity for people with problems. This is a high-performance environment, and I need employees who are stable and predictable. If you can't offer that, maybe you should look for another job." I left her office feeling devastated and confused. How could I explain that my inconsistency was actually a neurological condition that I couldn't control? How could I make her understand that my creative bursts during hypomanic episodes had resulted in some of the most successful campaigns in the company's history? Over the following weeks, Linda's behavior toward me became increasingly hostile. She began to question every decision I made, excluded me from important meetings, and made sarcastic comments about my mood swings in front of other colleagues. I felt like I was being slowly pushed out of the job I loved. The breaking point came during a presentation to our biggest client. I was going through a mild depressive episode, which meant I was a bit slower to speak and less energetic than usual. But I was still competent and prepared. However, when the client asked a question, Linda interrupted me before I could answer. "I'm sorry, Mr. Johnson," she said with a fake smile. "Sarah is having one of her off days. Let me handle this question." The humiliation was unbearable. I felt tears threatening to spill, but I held them back. After the meeting, Linda called me into her office again. This time, she wasn't alone. Margaret from Human Resources was there with a serious expression and a folder in her hands. "Sarah," Linda began, "we've decided that your performance is no longer meeting our standards. Your instability is affecting not only your own work but also the team's dynamic. We're going to have to let you go." "Let me go," I repeated, barely believing what I was hearing. "But my campaigns have been successful, my clients are satisfied." "Your personal issues are interfering with your professional performance," Margaret interrupted. We've documented several instances of erratic behavior and mood inconsistency. This is not compatible with our work environment. I felt a wave of anger rising in my chest. Erratic behavior? Are you referring to my bipolar disorder? The words came out before I could stop them. The silence in the room was deafening. Linda and Margaret exchanged glances, and I realized I had just confirmed their suspicions. Well, Linda said slowly, that explains a lot. Look, Sarah, I understand you have challenges, but we can't accommodate every employee's mental health issues. This is a business, not a treatment center. Bipolar disorder doesn't make me incompetent, I said, my voice shaking with emotion. It's a manageable condition, and I've been receiving treatment. Many successful people live with bipolar disorder. Maybe, Linda replied dismissively, but not in my company. I need stable, predictable employees. People I can count on. Not someone who's up one day and down the next. That's not professional. I was fired that day with 2 weeks severance pay and a recommendation letter so generic it might as well have been blank. I left the office feeling completely defeated, not just professionally but as a person. Linda's words echoed in my mind: unstable, unpredictable, unprofessional. The following months were the darkest of my life. I applied for dozens of jobs, but somehow Linda's negative evaluation always seemed to follow me. The marketing industry is smaller than it appears, and word spreads quickly. I began to believe that maybe she was right, that my bipolar disorder really did make me unemployable. During this period, I fell into a deep depression. I barely left my apartment, lived on instant food, and spent hours questioning my worth as a professional and as a person. My therapist, Dr. Patricia Williams, was my only anchor during this dark period. Sarah, she said during one of our sessions, bipolar disorder is not a character flaw. It's a neurological condition that affects millions of successful people. Your creativity, your energy during hypomanic episodes, your ability to see solutions that others don't, these are gifts that come with your condition. But no one wants to hire someone unstable, I replied, using Linda's words. That's ignorance, not reality, Dr. Williams said firmly. Some of the most innovative and successful people in history have lived with bipolar disorder. Your challenge is not to hide your condition, but to find an environment that values your unique contributions. Slowly, with therapy and medication adjustment, I began to recover. I decided to take a different approach to my job search. Instead of hiding my condition, I began to research companies that had inclusive policies and valued neurodiversity. That's when I discovered Phoenix Creative, a digital marketing agency that prided itself on its diverse and inclusive culture. Their website spoke about celebrating differences and harnessing the power of neurodiverse minds. I decided to apply, and for the first time in months, I felt hope. The interview process was unlike anything I had experienced. Instead of trying to hide my condition, I was open about my bipolar disorder from the first interview. I explained how I managed my condition, how my hypomanic episodes contributed to my creativity, and how my periods of stability allowed me to execute ideas with precision. The hiring manager, James Chin, listened attentively and asked thoughtful questions. Tell me about your most creative campaign, he said. What was your mental state during that process? I described a campaign I had created during a hypomanic episode at Morrison & Associates. It was an innovative approach that had increased the client's sales by 40%. I was in a hypomanic state, I explained. My mind was racing with ideas. I could see connections that others couldn't, and I had the energy to work on it for hours without getting tired. And how did you execute the campaign? James asked. During my stable period that followed, I replied. I was able to refine the ideas, create a detailed timeline, and coordinate with the team to implement everything perfectly. James smiled. So you're telling me that your bipolar disorder actually contributed to the success of that campaign? Exactly, I said, feeling more confident. My condition gives me a unique perspective and a creative energy that, when properly managed, can be a huge asset. I was hired that same week. At Phoenix Creative, I felt like I had found my professional home. My colleagues were educated about mental health. My manager checked in regularly not to monitor my stability, but to ensure I had the support I needed, and my creative contributions were valued and celebrated. Within 6 months, I had created 3 award-winning campaigns and was promoted to senior creative director. My ability to think outside the box during hypomanic episodes, combined with my meticulous execution during stable periods, made me one of the most effective employees in the company. But the real turning point came a year later when Phoenix Creative announced they were expanding and needed a new regional director. I applied, despite feeling it might be too soon in my career. The interview process was intensive, involving presentations to the board and strategic planning sessions. During my final presentation, I spoke about my vision for the company's growth, my innovative marketing strategies, and my plans to create an even more inclusive work environment. But I also spoke about my bipolar disorder not as a limitation but as part of what made me an effective leader. My condition has taught me empathy, I said to the board. I understand what it means to be different, to be misunderstood, to have to work twice as hard to prove your worth. This makes me a better leader, someone who can see the potential in every employee regardless of their neurological differences. I got the job. 2 years later, I was sitting in my office when my assistant announced that someone wanted to meet with me. I looked up from my computer and couldn't believe my eyes. It was Linda Morrison, my former boss, looking uncomfortable and nervous. "Sarah," she said, entering my office hesitantly. I need to talk to you." I invited her to sit, curious about what had brought her to my office. Linda looked around, clearly impressed by the space and the view. "I heard about your success," she began. "Phoenix Creative has been making waves in the industry and everyone's talking about their new regional director. What can I do for you, Linda?" I asked, maintaining my professional composure. "Morrison and Associates is going through a difficult time," she admitted. "We're losing clients, our campaigns haven't been innovative, and frankly, we need fresh ideas. I heard about your work here and I wanted to offer you a position." I almost laughed. "You want to offer me a position? At the company that fired me for being unstable?" Linda looked uncomfortable. "Sarah, I think there might have been some misunderstandings in the past. I was under a lot of pressure and maybe I didn't handle your situation in the best way." "Misunderstandings?" I repeated. "Linda, you fired me because of my bipolar disorder. You said I was unpredictable and unprofessional. You humiliated me in front of clients and colleagues." "I know, and I'm sorry," she said, looking down. "I didn't understand your condition. I thought you were just difficult to work with." "And now?" I asked. "Now I realize I was wrong," Linda admitted. "I've been researching, talking to other professionals, and I understand that bipolar disorder doesn't make someone less capable. In fact, I've learned that many successful people have this condition." I looked at her for a long moment. "Linda, I appreciate your apology, but I'm not interested in returning to Morrison and Associates. I've found a place where I'm valued not despite my condition but because of everything I bring to the table." "I understand," she said. "But I was hoping maybe you could consider a partnership? Phoenix Creative and Morrison and Associates could work together on some projects." I smiled. "Actually, Linda, I have a better idea. Phoenix Creative is looking for a new account manager. Someone with experience who understands the industry but who's also willing to learn about inclusion and neurodiversity. Would you be interested?" Linda's eyes widened. You would consider hiring me?" "I believe everyone deserves a second chance," I said. "But if you come work for Phoenix Creative, you'll need to understand that we value diversity in all its forms. That includes neurological diversity." Linda nodded eagerly. "I've learned a lot in these past few years, Sarah. I realize I was wrong about many things." "Then welcome to the team," I said, extending my hand. "But remember, here you'll be reporting to me." The irony wasn't lost on either of us. The woman who had once fired me for being unstable was now asking to work for me. But more than irony, this was a moment of growth and redemption for both of us. Linda started working at Phoenix Creative the following month, and to her credit, she proved to be a quick learner. She attended workshops on neurodiversity, learned about different conditions, and became an advocate for inclusive practices in the workplace. 6 months later, during a team meeting, Linda stood up and made an announcement that surprised everyone. "I want to share something with you all," she said. 3 years ago, I fired someone from my previous company because of their bipolar disorder. I was ignorant, prejudiced, and caused a lot of pain to someone who was actually incredibly talented." She looked at me. "That person is now my boss, and I couldn't be more grateful for the opportunity to work with her and learn from her. Sarah has taught me that our differences are not weaknesses but strengths. Her bipolar disorder doesn't make her less capable, it makes her uniquely creative and innovative." The room was silent, moved by Linda's honesty and courage. "I want to apologize publicly," she continued, "not just to Sarah, but to everyone who has ever been discriminated against because of their mental health. I was wrong, and I'm committed to doing better." After the meeting, Linda approached me. "Thank you," she said simply, "for giving me a second chance, for teaching me, and for showing me that leadership isn't about controlling people, but about bringing out the best in everyone." Today, Phoenix Creative is one of the most successful marketing agencies in the region. We've won numerous awards, not just for our campaigns, but for our inclusive workplace culture. We have employees with ADHD, autism, dyslexia, and yes, bipolar disorder. Each brings their unique perspective and talents to our team. I still live with bipolar disorder. I still have hypomanic episodes where my creativity explodes, and I still have periods of stability where I can execute ideas with precision. But now I see these cycles not as a flaw, but as a rhythm that makes me who I am. My condition has taught me that there's no such thing as normal, only different ways of experiencing the world. It has taught me empathy, resilience, and the importance of never judging someone based on their neurological differences. To everyone listening who lives with bipolar disorder or any other mental health condition, you are not broken. You are not unstable. You are not unprofessional. You are unique, talented, and capable of extraordinary things. The right environment will not just accept you, but will celebrate what makes you different. And to those who work with, live with, or know someone with bipolar disorder, please educate yourselves. Our condition is not a character flaw or a choice. It's a neurological difference that, with proper support and understanding, can be a source of incredible creativity and innovation. The woman who once called me unstable now reports to me, not because I wanted revenge, but because I believe in the power of education, empathy, and second chances. If Linda can change her perspective, anyone can. Today, as I look out my office window at the city below, I'm grateful for every experience that brought me here, even the painful ones, because they taught me that our greatest challenges can become our greatest strengths, and that sometimes what others see as a weakness is actually our superpower. Remember, you are not defined by your condition. You are defined by your courage, your resilience, and your unique contribution to the world. And in the right environment, with the right support, there's no limit to what you can achieve.